Welcome to Church Jams Now, everybody. The show where three former youth group kids and current music nerds deep dive into Christian music from the 90s and 2000s. I am, of course, your co-host, Kylan Savage. With me, as always, is Mr. TJ Smith.
Howdy. What's up?
Hey, and our beautiful producer, Josh Olson.
What's up, guys?
Okay, but enough talking from you guys, because we have a guest today. No one cares about y'all. I do, but...
Be quiet, Josh.
Josh, you're talking too much. Yeah, guys, we're super excited to continue our artist interview series. Today, we have Orion Walsh, the lead singer of Slow Coming Day, a super awesome band that we're going to get into, as well as a solo artist, has been making all kinds of awesome music for quite a while, and he's from Lincoln, Nebraska, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm originally from.
That's awesome. Are you in Lincoln right now?
I'm in Lincoln right now, yes.
Oh, that's super cool. Actually, our really good friend Joe, who's been a guest on this show, lives in Omaha. And when I told him we were interviewing you, he's seen you play like a bunch of times. So
okay, wow.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Shout out to Joe.
Yeah. So, Orion, thank you so much for coming on the show.
No problem, man. Yeah, thanks for having me here.
We originally kind of touched base because Slow Coming Day is doing a reunion show, right?
Yeah. How it works out is basically all the guys are living in Southern California except for me, and I happen to be going back to California for about a month. So it just works out that we can finally do a reunion show. We did actually one reunion show in 2018, Joshua Fest, where we got to open up for King and Country and David Crowder.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Project 86 played, a bunch of other bands played, and we were supposed to play Audio Feed Festival, man, and then it just got there was 2020, that got canceled, then in 2021 it got canceled. So
right.
I ended up just playing solo because they didn't end up booking the band, but I got to see some cool bands. Pedro the Lion played, the Huntingtons did a reunion set, so that was cool.
That is so rad.
Do we want to kind of go back a little bit?
Let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning.
If I can,
the halcyon days.
let's go back a little bit. And Orion, if I can be extremely frank with you, I am a big tooth and nail guy, but I know hardly anything about Slow Coming Day, admittedly. So you can just talk
yeah.
I know nothing because until the last couple of weeks I really didn't know anything. So I would love to hear more about how you guys got started and just kind of we'll get into more specifics of getting on tooth and nail and definitely recording your record. But tell us more about the origin stories.
Oh, totally. Yeah. We only put out one record with Tooth and Nail. So, and then we never went on after that. The band basically broke up. So that's probably why not a lot of people heard about us. Well, when we came out with our band at a certain time in 2003, it's been quite a while. And actually coming up next year is the 20-year anniversary of our album with Tooth and Nail. But we played a lot. We played Christian music festivals like Cornerstone. And but other than that, we didn't really exist in the youth group culture.
Right.
We played with a lot of secular bands, actually. So that was kind of the beginning of that era where Under Oath and those type of bands played in clubs and not in churches. And weirdly enough, there's a lot to talk about, I'm sure, but one thing our manager said, he's as soon as we signed to Tooth and Nail, he said, okay, now you guys can't play any churches anymore. I'm huh? And that's how it started as a band, And we were from Southern California, so we were a local Orange County band is how we started. And then actually how we got signed was we sent our album in to Tooth and Nail. And it's kind of a funny story because Bill Power, who worked at Tooth and Nail, he said, I sent him an email. I said, hey, Bill, I sent you that album in the mail. This is when you still would send CDs through the...
Right. Well, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask what format you sent it in. Because I remember doing that. I remember sending burned CDs to labels and stuff around that time too.
That's awesome. Yeah, this was actually a real EP. We had a booklet in there, and there was a press picture of it. But I remember Bill emailing me back and he said, listen, kid, this was basically the exact words. He's like, listen, kid, I don't listen to demos.
Brutal.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And so I thought, okay, well, I said, I emailed him back. I'm well, because I was in college. I was 19, I think. I'm well, who does listen to demos at Tooth and Nail? And he's like, you need to email this lady. But what he didn't realize is I sent the package to him because I knew Russell from Dogwood. And we had played shows with Dogwood in my old punk band.
Mm.
And so Russell told me what to do. He said, send it to Bill. He's the one that signed us. And Bill signed Further Seems Forever. He signed Slick Shoes. He was in Blenderhead. He played with MXPX. I mean, opening up for MXPX.
Right.
Mhm.
And so
Nice.
Bill Powers, like at that time, he has a long history of signing some pretty cool bands. And so then he emailed me back a couple days later. He's like, it must be Dumb Luck Day today at Tooth and Nail, because he's like, I got your CD on my desk. I listened to it. I really like it. Tell me more about the band. What are you guys doing? Are you guys Christians? What's your deal? You know? So we started to correspond through email. He came to Southern California to see us play, and his girlfriend was living there. We didn't sign that day, but we ended up talking to Tooth and Nail back and forth. We played Tooth and Nail Day. Before that, we opened up for Juliana Theory and Coheed and Cambria and 238. And then I remember Brandon Eagle called me on the phone, the owner of Tooth and Nail. I was asleep. It was, I don't know, probably 11 in the afternoon. It was maybe noon. And he called me. He's like, are you still asleep? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, that's a typical musician thing, you know? And he's like, well, this is really a trust issue for us if we put you on this show with Juliana Theory and Coheed and Cambria, because the drummer from Element 101's, their drummer hurt his leg. And they said, well, if we put you on this show, we really want to know for sure that you're going to sign a Tooth and Nail.
Oh,
and so I said,
gotcha.
yeah. So he's like, do I have your word? You know, do I have your word just through like a telephone call?
Mm.
And I said, yeah, you have my word. So
crazy.
Wow.
that's kind of how it all began.
Not even a handshake deal, like a phone call deal.
A phone call, yeah.
When that happens, are you like, oh, I'm just casually like, is that weird waking up and you're like, I'm getting a phone call from Brandon Ebel right now? Like,
Yeah, dude.
what a way to wake up.
Definitely, man, because I'm just like you guys. I mean, I was a kid that went to youth group that liked Tooth and Nail bands. And I'm from the Midwest originally. So to me, it was like a dream come true, but it was super awkward getting a call from Brandon on my Nokia, like handheld Nokia
Oh,
phone.
yeah.
Like the old school Nokia.
Yeah.
So we found a use for those Nokias besides playing Snake. It's you getting signed to Tooth and Nail.
Getting
The one
label
call from
deals.
Brandon Ebel. Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah,
That's so
those things
crazy.
were kind of indestructible, though, you know?
That's very true. So then you guys signed, and then, well, let's just talk about then coming out with the album, going in to record it. How many songs did you guys have? Well, actually, before that, how long had y'all been together?
Yeah, that's a good question. We'd only been a band, so everything happened really fast. So what I just described, we'd been a band for 1 year. That's it.
Wow.
Dang.
For only 1 year. And basically, we were all just friends that went to college, to this college called Vanguard University. And believe it or not, the OC Supertones went to Vanguard too.
Mm.
Okay.
So the OC Supertones came out of there because, see, I left Nebraska when I was 17, and I moved to Southern California to go to school at Vanguard. And that's where I met the guys in Slow Coming Day.
Okay.
So, and the pop punk was really popular, and this thing was coming up, emo, and indie rock was cool.
Mm-hmm.
So we were only a band for 1 year. Then we signed to Tooth and Nail in the very end of 2002, quite a while ago, 20 years ago. And then in 2003, we went into the studio with Ed Rose.
That was something we wanted to talk about.
Yes,
yeah.
I definitely want to talk about working with Ed Rose.
Yeah. Sure. And of course, a lot of people asked us, well, going back to Brandon Ebel didn't like that. He said, he's like, I really want you to record with a Christian producer.
Who was he wanting?
He wanted us to go with I think originally this producer called Andy Dodd, who was in Southern California. Now,
Okay.
What has he done? I'm not familiar with him.
me either, yeah. But he had done other albums on BEC, I'm pretty sure, at that time. And of course, when I think of Tooth and Nail, I always think of maybe Aaron Sprinkle.
Right, yeah.
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 Old man.
So it would have been different if he said, well, I want you to record with Aaron Sprinkle. But he didn't say that. He named this guy I didn't know. So I'm like, well, I don't know, And so I said, we would really like to record with Ed Rose, who recorded the Get Up Kids, Appleseed Cast, and a lot of other, secular bands. And so he didn't really like that idea in the beginning. And he said, if we're going to record with a secular producer, I want you to record with Mark Trevino, who recorded Clarity.
Yeah, for sure.
So we were really excited for a little bit. I mean, I almost, peed my pants there.
Sure.
I think that's how Josh felt just mentioning his name.
Yeah, for sure. Because that would have been like a year or two after he did Bleed American. Just crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Wow. So Brandon had sent Mark Trevino an email, and Trevino sent Brandon an email, and he said, Brandon, I only do a budget of $15,000 and over. So he said, unless you have 15 grand, that's the lowest budget I do. And so Brandon wasn't really willing to give us 15,000 because we were such a brand new band.
Right.
So that's kind of what happened with that. And essentially, then we went with Ed Rose. And so then we recorded with the Get Up Kids recorded. And the Get Up Kids just brought that studio. And so a lot of great bands recorded there. Branson, The Beautiful Mistake, Appleseed Cast, The Casket Lottery, and of course, the most famous, The Get Up Kids. And I even think Nirvana, like Kurt Cobain recorded there too, in that studio at one time. Yeah, he tracked a couple things Kurt Cobain did there. That was probably the most famous person. So yeah, then we were in Kansas for 3 weeks. We made the album, and we had 12 songs going into it, and all 12 songs went on the album. But we did change some things, just not too much, but certain parts we made shorter. You know, we cut out certain parts. We just made things better, and then some of the lyrics changed to some of the songs. One weird thing that Red Rose kind of did, guys, was we had a lot of slide octaves on the guitar.
Mm-hmm. Very Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And they made Brad change a lot of his parts. Ed Rose did.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
What was his thinking behind that? Do you know? Did he say?
Yeah, well, he said, well, slide octaves are about to go out of style. So he's like, we have to do something else.
Interesting.
What'd y'all do instead for those parts?
Well, Brad still did a lot of slide octaves, but instead he wrote regular lead parts, regular lead guitar parts.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think, I don't know. I like working with Ed, but if I could do it again, I might change it, but I'm still happy with what came out of it. But it's ultimately an album that sounds like it could be on Deep Elm Records.
Right.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
It's not an album that sounds like it's on Tooth and Nail or for the Christian market, really.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And that kind of hurt us in the end. And a lot of, in the Christian world, a lot of reviewers, when the album came out, guys, a lot of reviewers said, we don't like this. There's no hope in this music. And man, just where's Jesus in these songs? And
interesting.
Yeah. And so, but weirdly enough, we had letters coming from fans. That was when you still got letters. We had a P.O. box. Right. Mm-hmm. And when the letters came in, it was kids that were saying that the album helped them not commit suicide.
Wow.
And so, because I'm singing about, my own pain and, what's usual in emo songs and my dad's death and all these hard things to sing about. And so, yeah, the Christian reviewers said this music has no hope. The secular world was like, this sounds like Branson. And it's it didn't really vibe with either one. But but a lot of people did. It did affect some people, and it did help some people because we got these letters in the mail saying, hey, I was going to kill myself. I put your album on and I decided not to. And so that blew my mind.
That's so cool. Yeah.
That really did.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's why you do it,
Yeah. Yeah. It was really life-changing, man.
That was the thing I always, as an emo kid in high school, that was the thing I could never get across to my parents. They're like, why are you listening to this really sad music? I'm like, no, it's ultimately it's really good because I can relate. I can relate to someone. It's a way to connect to the world. And they're like, I don't know, they're just so sad. I'm like, well, yeah. People can be sad.
Exactly. I remember jamming out to Pay to the Lion. I would be listening to Mineral, Pay to the Lion, and really sad emo. And my mom would be like, I don't what are you listening to? Like my mom was listening to like metal, and I was listening to like softer music than she was. So, yeah.
Dang, Mom.
For sure.
Yeah, dude. She was listening to Tourniquet while I was jamming out to Pedro the Lion.
And she's like, "What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is
What a
Dave so
pair.
sad?"
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I feel like recording with Ed Rose definitely like went with your sound, because like if you'd gone even with Sprinkle, it would have been like, I feel like more of like a sheen on that, which I feel like you're talking about with Mineral definitely helps going with that sound with Ed Rose, what he was producing. I was just looking at like when your album came out in 2003 and the stuff that Ed Rose did around that album, like Calendar Days came out 2 months before that, and then Reggie in the Full Effect, Under the Tray, and then 2 months later, Motion City Soundtrack's first album came out
Yeah,
that he
that's
did.
right.
Because and then Appleseed Cast happened in July. Two Conversations. I remember Emery recorded Week's End somewhere around
That's
that
right.
time. Yeah,
That's
so like,
right.
do you know like who was in the studio like before and after you? Because like it had to been one of those
all
or
pretty
two of those
close,
guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what was cool is it's cool that you mentioned that, because we brought back some memories. So thanks, Josh. Yeah, it was the Rocket Summer had just recorded with Ed Rose.
Right before y'all.
And that was in the studio right before us.
Okay.
And he won a contest.
That makes so much sense.
He won a contest, yeah, and that's how he had the money.
Knowing his trajectory, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then Emery, I think, was right after us or around that same time.
That
man.
sounds right, because I remember I've heard Emery tell the story that when they got into record with Ed, he was complaining about working with Bryce a lot from the Rocket Summer. So
Oh, no.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I saw, like, I was looking at the credits, and this is Bryce Avery's first album as a
He was
Rocket
like
Summer.
15 or something, right?
Yes, okay.
He was like a little baby.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
not his fault.
according to Emery, talking about what Ed Rose was saying is that he was complaining about like Bryce and everything. And then I looked at the credits. It says like Calendar Days is recorded or is like produced by Bryce. He credits himself as the producer, and then it says recorded with Ed Rose. I'm like, whoa, like you're just gonna throw Ed Rose as like a recorded with credit? Like
Yikes.
Ed probably has
wild.
some credence for
Yeah,
that.
they definitely had some conflicts.
That's wild. That's
What a move.
Yeah.
I do remember Ed complaining about Bryce.
That's good.
You can
so
confirm it.
So then you guys recorded the album, and then I'm just curious a little bit of like what the kind of like rollout promotional stuff. Did you guys start like? Did you guys go on tour right away, or like how did that all go down?
Yeah, that's a great question. And usually you put out the album and then do a tour. And that's what was so weird about Slow Coming Day is that we did it in-store at Virgin Megastore in Southern California. And then there was like a 2 months that went by and we didn't even tour. And all the ads for the album were like only in Southern California. That's it.
Weird.
Only the Southern
Hyperlocal.
California people knew about it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Only the people in Southern California knew about it.
Was that like Midwest emo sound really even like popular in SoCal like back then?
No, not really.
Seems like a weird place to market
Yeah.
that sound. Yeah.
Huh.
A lot of people thought that we were from somewhere else, actually, Josh. So you bring up a good point. I mean, I'm from the Midwest, and our bass player was also from the Midwest too. So there was two guys from the Midwest. So we had
Right.
some Midwest roots,
Mm-hmm.
and we recorded in the Midwest too.
I just assumed like, because like for years before everything was on the internet, I just assumed you guys were like another like a Midwest emo band like Captain Jazz or Get Up
Sure.
Kids or something, and
Yeah.
so
That's
yeah,
cool.
it was only recently I was like, wait, Southern California, like wait,
That's
okay,
weird.
okay.
It's almost like they should have booked like a really concentrated Midwest tour for you guys, like after the album dropped. Just like transplant them where their sound makes sense so they can just be kings of the region.
TJ, that's genius.
Did anyone, and we're not trying to like shit on anybody or anything, but was there like reasoning behind the super localized or the lack of promotion nationwide or what do you think happened?
Yeah. Well, That's a great question. And basically, our album was the first album with Tooth and Nail where they didn't spend any marketing budget in the Christian market. They didn't spend any marketing budget. And the reason is because, see, Bill Power, who signed our band, he quit Tooth and Nail and he became our manager. And before that happened,
wow,
him and Brandon sat down and Bill said, I want to make the marketing budget for the band. And Bill said, I only want to advertise this in the secular market, not in the Christian market. I'm not going to advertise in Christian bookstores, none of that. And instead, we were like in Mean Street Magazine in Orange County. So it's like Slow Coming Day and Lincoln Park.
Weird.
You know,
Wild.
That's how it was. And we were in the listening stores. Like, you went into the listening stores, and when we played Virgin Megastore, like, No Doubt played Virgin Megastore. So we played that, and then we didn't tour at all. And then 2 months went by after the album came out. We didn't play the Midwest like TJ said we should have, but then we went to Cornerstone, and we played Cornerstone, and there we got to open up for this cool band called Further Seems Forever, and that was awesome. So we did play the Midwest, and so a lot of the Christian kids came out, and that's when Cornerstone, man, it was in its full glory.
Yeah, this is actually a perfect transition because I think everyone we've talked to so far has a Cornerstone story.
Yes.
And we all have Cornerstone stories too. So I'm just curious, what was your experience there?
I mean, I grew up going to Cornerstone, like being from the Midwest, you know?
Right.
That was the only time I saw these bands
Nebraska,
because, I mean, dude, the only way that I got into Christian music was that because my parents let me listen to kind of whatever music I wanted, you know? So I listened to classic rock and I listened to modern rock, like grunge and stuff like that. And then the modern bands that were coming out, Foo Fighters, yada, yada, at the time in the late 90s. Right. And then it was my friends had these CDs of Stave Saker, Goaty Hook, I don't know, man, just MXPX, you know, of course MXPX, Plank Eye, and all those ones, man. And so they would let me borrow them, then I would burn those CDs, or I would go to the bookstore and buy them.
Right.
And so then I got to go to Cornerstone. But I remember my first concert was actually Plank Eye. My first Christian concert was Plank Eye.
Nice.
And ironically, before I signed to Tooth and Nail, the singer of Plank Eye was at the bar with me, and he's like, Orion, he's like, I got to tell you that don't sign to Tooth and Nail. He's like, I sold 100,000. He's like, I sold 100,000 albums. He's like, I didn't receive a penny. And he's like, I'm warning you, don't do it. And I still just didn't care. I'm like, no, I'm not going to listen to you.
Right.
Man, their story is so sad, how that all happened for them.
Yeah.
And then it's a rough one. He's a bad of all the people for you to talk to and be like, it's that guy with his experience with Tooth and Nail. That's a rough one.
Yeah. But going to Cornerstone, man, was the way I found out about those bands and the first time I saw those bands. You know, so I went to Cornerstone in 99, 2000, 2001, and then Slow Coming Day won a contest in 2002, the New Band Showcase. And we played there with a band called what was called Moss Isley, some ladies, and they started another band. It was called Isley then. And of course, they went on to be big huge band. So but 2003 was cool. We got to play with Further Seems Forever, and then but my experience was great. Cornerstone was kind of the coolest thing we did in the Midwest, and we even got to do some Midwest emo shows. With different friends bands and Lincoln, we played a house show, you know, so we got to do some really Midwest emo stuff on that first tour. But what was hard is our drummer quit the first tour. And so that really hurt the band.
Man, classic drummer.
Hey.
Ouch.
Hey now.
I made the drummer stay on the road till we got to open for Further Seems Forever. And then he flew home. And so the rest of the tour, we were going to go on tour with this band called Emery. You might have heard of them before. And they had a van. Oh, no, they had a tour bus, but it was like a school bus. And on the school bus, they'd spent about $4,000 or $5,000 to make this school bus really nice where they could all live in it. And there's a funny story about first meeting Emery at Cornerstone. So we go to meet the band. We're sitting in their bus, and I told our bass player, Dave, and I said, now, Dave, I know that you like to cuss. I'm like, please don't cuss. Because I'm like,
in front of the Emory guys.
I'm like, I know these guys are believers and I don't want to offend them. So even that we do cuss sometimes, Dave really had, a really like sailor mouth.
Right.
And I'm like, please do not cuss. He's like,
Just dial it back.
He's like, well, he's from Indiana, Southern Indiana. He's like, I'm just gonna shut up. I'm not gonna say anything.
This is almost the exact conversation these guys have with me before we have a guest on.
Okay. Yeah, and so the first thing out of Dave's mouth was a swear word. So
that's
so
great.
funny.
Knowing the Emory guys, I'm sure they're like, I'm sure that would like endeared you to them.
Oh, they probably loved it. They probably thought it was hilarious.
Immediately, like when Dave cussed, the first word out of his mouth was a cuss word, and everyone started laughing. And then we knew we were going to be friends from there.
That's so good.
We knew we were going to be friends.
That was like Cornerstone. Are you saying of 03 for that?
2003, yeah.
So were they?
Yeah.
Were they even signed to Tooth and Nail by then?
No, they had their album recorded and it wasn't released yet.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
So that was their first tour. I know Emory has a like a movie, not a movie, but like a documentary about their band.
Yeah.
And they do mention us in that documentary. They're like, yeah, we went out with Slow Coming Day came on tour with us for the first tour. And what happened is their bus broke down after the first show that we did.
Oh,
so
no.
it's like VFW Hall in this place called Valparaiso, Indiana. And Valparaiso, Indiana, it's kind of like near Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, their bus was totally broken down. And so Toby and Matt and the other guys had to drive back, and Seth at the time, they had to drive back they rented a car to go back to South Carolina, where they were originally from.
Mm-hmm.
And then Josh Head, the keyboard player, and Joel, the bass player at the time, and Josh's brother rode with us in our van all the way back to Seattle, and we played all the shows without Emory.
Oh wow.
Our first tour was like just us and local bands playing.
That's crazy.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
But there's like 8 dudes packed in one van, man.
That's crazy.
Been there.
Dang, that's cool.
Been
You
there.
didn't like have like Josh come up during your set to do like his like screaming where he stands out and walks out into the crowd thing or something?
Definitely.
Was he doing that back then?
Yeah. Josh was doing that. Yeah. Josh would scream with us on the last song we would do. Like the last
sweet.
song on our album, Behind Blue Eyes,
Mhm.
we would do a screaming part. And so Josh would come up and scream with us.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Very
So
cool. That's
I became
awesome.
really, really good friends with Josh. I was even roommates with him for a long time.
Oh really?
Me and Josh are still
Nice.
really good.
So you lived up in Seattle for a while?
Yeah, I used to live in Seattle just for the wintertime. So I would go there and live with Josh because I was like, when Slow Coming Day broke up, I was doing solo tours. So like folk Americana music.
Yeah.
So-
Okay. So, hey, another great segue that I'm going to bring to a screeching halt to acknowledge. Yeah. So I want to talk about kind of the breakup of the band and some of your solo stuff, kind of how that transition happened, why y'all broke up, why y'all are getting back together. Eventually we'll get to that, but I want to hear about all the stuff that you've been doing in between.
Yeah. And basically, to make a long story short, guys, basically what happened is that after that tour I described, we ended up getting on a really big tour, the biggest tour of our lives with a band called May in Copeland.
Mm.
And we
Heard of them.
and a band called Working Title. And so we
Oh, yeah.
toured the whole nation on tour with them. Then we went on tour. Then we immediately went on a Tooth and Nail tour for like 9 shows. That was with Amberlynn, Me Without You, Watashiwa, and Emory again.
Was that the one where Further was supposed to headline and they dropped off?
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Wow. I
exactly.
didn't know y'all were on that one.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah. Only on the East Coast shows. So
Okay.
we played 6 or 7 East Coast shows. And it was funny because May was going to join the tour and they called up and they're like, yeah, we're joining the tour, by the way. And they were so confident back then, they're like, we're joining the Tooth and Nail tour. Yeah. And Dave's like, and by the way, Slow Coming Day is opening up on these shows or we're not coming.
Oh,
And I'm like, wow, like Dave from May, dude, that guy like
yeah.
really went to bat for us.
Wow. That's
That's awesome.
awesome.
So, and I'm still good friends with Dave. So there is talk about Slow Coming Day in May doing a show like us
Hell
opening
yeah.
up for them next year.
Hell yeah.
So
Oh, dude, that'd be sweet.
Come on
yeah.
up to Oregon, man.
And
Come on up
Texas.
to Oregon. Come
I
on.
hope so, man. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I hope we get to do a whole West Coast tour with them. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, then we kept going. We kept touring. We played shows with Gatsby's American Dream, As Tall as Lions.
I have not heard those names in a while. Yeah, that's rad.
Really good bands. And so then after that, we just the band broke up because we were going on these big tours, but we came back pretty poor.
Right.
You know, we weren't necessarily homeless, but borderline.
Yeah, I mean,
Borderline.
you're
Yeah,
in your
I'm-
20s in a band. Like, yeah, like, I get it. I get it.
yeah. And so that was one of the reasons. And of course, just my own. Unfortunately, at that time, my own party lifestyle kind of got the best of me, and I needed to sober up, but I didn't really know how. There's a lot of people that can drink normally and socially, and then there's other people that have drinking problems. And I was one of those people, so I eventually got help, man, and got sober. But that was a really
That's great.
hard time for me. Thank you. Yeah, and so that is some of the real reasons why we broke up, and because I just want to, we can just be completely honest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
that's awesome. Yeah.
We really
Yeah.
respect and appreciate that. That's really cool. That
Yeah, no
trust
problem, man.
means
And
a lot.
yeah, so also poverty, really, I won't lie, because a lot of the expenses is going towards getting hotels or
Right.
food and gas, insurance, yada, yada, yada. And so we just came back where we just didn't have much money. And so that's really why me and Brad split ways. It wasn't that Brad was like, "Oh, Orion, I hate you." And it wasn't like that. Me and Brad, the guitar player that we both wrote the music together, we've been friends all these years. And so that's why we're getting back together too, because we're still friends. So
That's the best.
yeah, it is good. Yeah. And in between that whole time from when the band broke up till now, I've been doing solo Americana music. So I've put out like 5 albums and like 3 EPs, and I've toured Europe 10 times now.
That's wild.
Do you end up making okay money like that? Because I imagine logistics are a little easier. It's not as expensive to tour as a solo guy. Like, you can be more streamlined and lean and maybe come away making a little more money on the other side.
Yeah, you're right, TJ. Yeah, it's easier, man. And like, I've done tours in the US that way. And then in Europe, it's really easy to streamline it because I take trains when I travel.
Yeah.
And like, I
So
don't have to
affordable.
spend, it's so much more affordable. I get a train pass for Germany, and the German people and a lot of people in Europe, they just like come out to shows no matter what, man. Like, they're like, this guy came from America. He must be good. So we'll come watch it.
Even
Which
if they
is a
don't know
safe
who you are,
assumption.
that's cool.
Even if they don't know who you are.
I kind of get it because it's like you're spending a bunch of money to like hop the pond, and like go play for a bunch of people that you don't know. Like, you don't even share a culture. So you really, they have to imagine like that you believe in what you're doing. And I can see how that would be compelling for an audience, even if you're a total stranger to them.
Yeah, it is. And also, especially like a lot of shows that I did in Germany and the Netherlands, they have a culture of like sitting down and listening. Like in Britain, it's not like that. In Britain, people are like talking more like we would at a show, like not talking all the time, but when you're playing a smaller show. And one of the things I got really into with the solo stuff was playing house concerts. And so, David Bazan and all those people and Chris from 238, they were doing that. Well, I do that too, but I don't do it in the U.S. I've done it in the U.S., but not very much, but I especially do it overseas. And so then I got to play a couple of Christian music festivals this year. That's what I did. I did a Christian music festival called Graceland in the Netherlands. And Gungor was headlining that festival.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah. And then I played Freakstock, and they didn't have any lineup that we would really recognize for the German festival. And then I was at Audio Feed too for America. So that's what I did, guys, for the past 14 years.
Yeah. And then
sweet.
you guys are coming back together to do Slow Coming Day. But so like, what's the plan with that? Just hanging out, having fun, playing music, or like
Just a couple one-off shows? Or?
Yeah, like what?
Right now, we're just having fun, hanging out with friends.
That's
and
the best. That's the best.
If our friends that are in bigger bands ask us to play shows with them, we're going to do it.
Hell yeah.
I love that, kind of just being open-handed about it, just ready for whatever comes.
Yeah, and like it'd be cool to do a show. I mean, my personal goal would be like it would be rad to play a show with May next year for their 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
And maybe if we're really lucky, like Copeland. And man, it'd be really cool to play again with Emory because like we know them really well, and so we've been talking of like May and Emory and like trying to see what can happen.
They just did that Labeled Fest this summer, and it was great. It's like having all the Tooth and Nail band. So like they need to do that again next year and bring y'all out for that. That would be
killer. That would be fun. Did you get to go to the?
I did, yeah.
Oh, cool.
I know. I hate that Slow Coming Day just feels like a Tooth and Nail, like redheaded stepchild. Like,
yeah,
that it feels a little unfortunate because I love that record. And I've listened to it a ton, and I've listened to a bunch of your solo stuff too. We're probably gonna cut this. I'm fanboying out a little bit. I'm trying to keep it professional, but I'm pretty stoked. I'm pretty stoked we're talking.
Hey man, be stoked.
No, that's awesome, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, and of course, like I said, when we made the album, the critics said this music has no hope. Where's God in this music? And that's the thing. We weren't singing about. I sang about God in certain songs in my relationship with God, but the band was always about kind of about what I went through as a person.
Right.
And so if people can relate to that, that's really cool. And like if the album impacted you, that's awesome. And it's like in others, then we did our job. And so it'll be cool to play those songs again and kind of like travel back in time in a way.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool. And maybe we're doing this one show in Southern California on December 16th with Watashiwa. And it's only $10, so like anybody can come. So another band called Stairwell, they were on Hopeless Records, and the lead singer is going to play acoustic. So
that's so awesome.
That's
all of our CJN listeners in Southern California, go to that show because that's going to be freaking awesome. I feel like we're coming to a relatively decent wrapping up place. So of course I'm going to do the opposite and ask you a different question and completely like deep dive into something else. In terms of your solo stuff, I'm just personally a little curious about like your recording process with that. Do you record everything yourself? Do you like book studio time like in Lincoln or like how have your last couple albums gone? And you guys Slow Coming Day y'all came out with the quarantine sessions, so I want to talk about that a little bit too. Like how did y'all coordinate all of that?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, like I'm curious about how that all went down.
Okay, those are great questions, man. Yeah, for my solo stuff, my last record, I worked with a guy here in Lincoln, and it was during COVID, right? Mm-hmm. So it was the first album I ever did where I just recorded the vocals and the acoustic guitar, and I like a drum. Like I had this. It's a programmed drummer, so I had like the folk roots drummer,
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And
wait, this is very specific, but did you use the Tune Track Easy Drummer plugin, or what did you do? What did you do for the drums?
It's like the cheap one on GarageBand, man.
Oh hell yeah, yeah. That's what's up.
Honestly, all those presets are pretty great. Like you can do a lot.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I downloaded a special one. It was called. His name was Mason, and it said folk drummer. So like,
yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
That's what I need.
Riley is his name,
You should bring him on tour, man. Bring Mason on tour.
Yeah, Mason's great. Really cheap drummer too.
Yeah,
you can do the
Does he
whole
complain?
Steve 3PO thing that David Crowder Band did with Mason.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I really like David Crowder, by the way. Yeah. So yeah, and then I sent the tracks off to Lucas Kellison, who he played bass briefly for George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelic.
Holy cow! Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
And so And he helped produce a gal named Andrea Von Kempen from Lincoln, and she's quite popular on Spotify. So yeah, he did my last album. So he like plays bass on it and electric guitar, and we collaborated without ever seeing each other in person.
Wow.
So like
the whole making music during the pandemic was such a trip, man.
It was weird, dude. To answer your question, Kylan, that's the same thing I did for the quarantine sessions too.
Okay, cool.
So I tracked the Slow Coming Day acoustic album. I tracked it at home, and then I sent it off to Dave, the bass player that plays on Farewell to Familiar. He lives in Indiana, near Indianapolis, and he played bass. And then we sent it to another guy named Jordan Morgan Lansdowne, who briefly ran his own label with some artists, and he did the mixing and stuff.
Oh, cool.
So, and then Indie Vision put it out, Indie Vision Music. So they were our label.
I saw that. That's cool. I love Indie Vision.
Yeah, they're cool, man. And then we did another album. So Look Me Day did another album in 2019. It was like electronic emo, but it wasn't really. We produced it ourselves, so it's like, it's raw. Some of the parts are raw, lo-fi, and so the people that listen to Farewell to Familiar are like, "What is this? Why did this sound so horrible?" It's like,
we're doing this all ourselves.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's charmingly scrappy.
For sure. Do y'all have are y'all working on more Slow Coming Day songs?
Ooh, Josh, that's a good question, man.
That's the money question right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the money question. The truth is that Brad, the other songwriter, guitar player, the guy with the nerdy thick glasses that kind of looks like Rivers from Weezer.
Nice.
He has, man, I don't know how he kept this, but on his 8-track at the time, he had 40 songs that he wrote after we put out the album.
Oh my God, wow.
In 2003.
Oh, so other songs y'all were working on back then?
Yeah. So he has all that recording. So he's gone through it all, and he says that he has the 7 best songs that he wrote.
Wow.
Wow.
I was hanging out with my girlfriend at the time. I wasn't writing songs.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I was way into her, and that's Captivated is about her. Yeah, I was not in the songwriting area.
Right.
I was really, really in love. Anyway, those songs, we're gonna try to Brad wants to try to re-record those songs. So we would come out with a new album, but it'll be as if it was back then.
That's awesome, though.
I love that.
Yeah, that'd be perfect for the 20th anniversary, right around the time y'all are doing the 20th anniversary too, because this is music that is kind of also 20 years old, but is new at the same time.
But it's new, yeah.
That's the best.
Good idea.
I'm here for it.
Can I ask a question about a songwriting process? How much of it is you? How much of it is, you say his name is Brad? Is it?
Yeah, Brad. Yeah.
Brad. Okay, yeah. How much of it is Brad, do y'all collaborate, or do you does Brad write a song and then give it to you and then you write the lyric? What's that process look like for y'all?
Yeah, it's always kind of been half and half. Usually Brad will write half a song and I'll write the other half. Or he'll have the verse but he doesn't have the chorus. Or he has the chorus but he doesn't have any verse.
Right.
And so for the music, so we equally write the music, and then we bring it to the band, to the drummer and the bass player, and then they write their parts to it. Yeah, and then I write some lyrics to it. Usually it's the music first. With Slow Coming Day, the music first, and then the lyrics.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's half and half. Yeah.
What's your favorite key to write in? I'm just curious.
I mean, it's different between my solo stuff.
Okay. Well, yeah. Give me both answers.
But I mean, Slow Coming Day is all of it's, a lot of it's D, because it's dad tuning, D-A-D-G.
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
So just back then in 2003, that was all the rage.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, that was
Professional.
post Dashboard. Exactly. I did. I think from 2004 to 2007, I didn't take my guitar out of DADGAD tuning.
Yep. I can relate to that.
And what about your solo stuff?
The solo stuff, just standard tuning and a lot of capoing, but a lot of it's C, but it's capoed up somewhere,
right.
Wherever happens to be good for the voice. So a lot of songs in the key of C, but not always in the key of C because it's capoed.
Right.
But
chord shapes of C. Yeah.
Yeah.
How he's
C and G.
yeah.
I mean, it's country. It's
Yeah,
Americana.
exactly. Yeah,
He's good Americana chord shapes.
It really is.
Yep. The cowboy cards, man.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Classic. Yep.
Sweet. Okay, so I think we're getting close to a stopping point. Okay, so we don't have to do this, but I texted the guys earlier. So when I can, I like to play a game on the show. We're about to come out with our episode with Leonor Ortega from Five Iron Frenzy, and I played a game with her. So I used to run a trivia night. I just love games. I love trivia games, and they don't matter at all. And usually what I'll do is I'll come up with a pun or a combination, like a Wheel of Fortune before and afters kind of thing, and then base a game around that. So if you're down to play a trivia game in which the points don't matter, everything is completely made up, I think it'd be pretty fun.
Sure, why not?
The game is called Slow Coming Days of Our Lives. So Josh and TJ don't know any of these either. The three of y'all are going to play together. It's 5 questions. And essentially what I've done is I didn't use Slow Coming Day because obviously you wrote all those lyrics, but I found other emo lyrics and I found quotes from the soap opera Days of Our Lives. And because, emo tends to be dramatic, soap operas tend to be dramatic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read each of these, and y'all are going to guess whether it's lyrics from an emo song or it's a quote from the soap opera Days of Our Lives.
Nice.
So,
I'm about to get outed for how big a soap opera fan I am.
Right. TJ's going to know
get them all right.
All of these.
That was season 2048.
Right.
That was the lost episode.
Yeah.
Deep cut.
Okay, so here we go. Question 1 on Slow Coming Days of Our Lives. The line is, "You told me that I would fall hard for someone, and I did." Is that an emo lyric, or is that a quote from Days of Our Lives?
Oh, tough.
Days of Our Lives.
Okay, Rance, Days of Our Lives.
I think I'll go Days of Our Lives too.
Okay, TJ.
I'm gonna juxtapose that. I'm gonna say that's some cold hard emo line.
All right, Josh and Orion are right. It is, of course, a quote from Days of Our Lives. Here's question number 2. "I sat behind the wheel and watched the raindrops as they gathered on the windshield."
Definitely emo song.
Yeah.
All right.
For
Agreed.
sure.
Of course, that is from If I Could by Mineral.
There you
So
go.
here we go. Question number 3. We have some more rain. Are we ready for some more rain? "The rain was there to wash away my tears. I wanted to be them, but instead I destroyed my chance."
Definitely emo song.
Okay.
Can you read it one more time?
"The rain was there to wash away my tears. I wanted to be them, but instead I destroyed my chance."
I'm going to say Days of Our Lives.
Okay.
That sounds like some angsty, like 18-year-old emo thing. I'm gonna go emo song.
Okay. TJ and Orion are right. So far, Orion, you're 3 for 3, man. That is Sunny Day Real Estate's Grendel.
Ooh,
Okay.
Sunny Day
Yeah.
Real Estate. Okay.
Here we go. Question number 4. "It's not fair to be a consolation prize. Every time I look at her, all I can think of is you."
That one's tough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let TJ and Josh go first.
I'll go Days of Our Lives.
I'm also
Okay.
gonna go Days of Our Lives. That feels soap opera-y.
I'm going to go with the majority vote here. I'm going to go Days of Our Lives too.
You guys are all right. That is a quote from Days of Our Lives. I was most excited. I thought that one would stump everybody.
That was a tough one. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Last question. "Don't let it go to your head. Boys like you are a dime a dozen."
Emo.
Yeah, emo.
Yes.
All right. Yes, of course, that is You're So Last Summer by Taking Back Sunday.
She
I would be
said,
remiss if I didn't have a Taking Back Sunday reference on this podcast.
Don't you mean Taking Back Sun Days of Our Lives?
"Oh, nice, Josh."
Nice,
Good.
dude.
All right, Orion, you won. You were 5 for 5, man. You know your emo and you know your soap operas.
Yeah,
It's good.
Right.
You get to keep your emo cred.
You
since
do.
You have an
You
emo
do.
band.
Yeah, you did much better than Leonor with the Matthew McSconaissance game. So
Yeah.
that one was a little harder. Well, Orion Walsh, thank you so much for being on Church Jams Now. Is there anything else you want to plug last minute? I know we talked about the reunion show. We talked about some of your music, but what else you got going on?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if people live in Southern California or California at all, come down to the reunion show December 16th, Slow Coming Day, Watashiwa. And you can hear Slow Coming Day, like the new music and the old music on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to music. And then my solo stuff, the Americana folky stuff is on all the streaming platforms too. And I just want to thank you guys for having me on. It's been a pleasure. And it's been cool to hang out with you guys digitally.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, man.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on. This was so much
seriously.
fun. Thanks for
guys, I've had a great time.
getting nerdy.
Good to
with
talk
us.
to you guys.
Yeah, you too. From all of us here at Church Jams Now, may all your favorite bands stay together. Peace out, Monfreres.